This video is brought to you by Patreon provider Dan. So a huge thank you to Patreon provider Dan for sending this in, along with his Gen 3 Razer HD 1-10, which you will be seeing very soon, I assure you. I never really noticed Unity mounts before. I saw them pop up a couple weeks ago, and now they just seem to be everywhere. So I was actually very curious to get my hands on one of these. And when Dan decided to send in his Razer with one of these attached to it, I was very excited, because it's a 2-for-1 deal for me. This is the Unity Fast Mount. It comes in two flavors, FDE or black. This obviously is the black one, 30mm or 34mm tube. This is set up for 34mm because that's what the Gen 3 Razer is. From the start, you can see this is a permanently set up mount. It's designed to be set and forget. Don't take it off. There are no QD levers, just 3 somewhat large Torx head screws, as well as 2 hard stops for your pick rail. The overall profile of this thing is fairly slim, and it feels fairly lightweight in hand. Now you might be asking yourself, well, that looks really neat. You want to know what else is really neat? The fact that they were smart enough to put not only the features on it, such as that it's a 34mm tube with 2-inch and 50 thou height, but also your torque values in there as well. So this way, if you ever lose your paperwork to it, or you're not sure of what it might be, you know exactly what they are on the mount at all times. That's a feature that I wish more mount manufacturers would do because it's just a really nice little touch, and it doesn't take anything for them to do. You're already going to be engraving it with the manufacturer name and a couple other numbers on there, so why not just throw that in there for good measure? The fit and finish on this thing is superb. Everything looks and feels absolutely fantastic. The anodizing is very smooth. There are no imperfections anywhere on it. Might be a little bit of dirt from handling it, but that's about it. The claw is held on with these 3 screws like I showed earlier, and it is full length, which is something I'm really happy to see. There's no reason why this shouldn't be full length. Some mounts only have 2 little spots front and rear. This is a full 4-ish inches, probably about 3.5 inches. And that's going to ensure that you have positive contact with your rail, and once it's torqued down, it's not going to go anywhere. One thing to note, the claw is not really held on there, so if you remove all 3 of these screws, this will come loose. Just something to keep in mind. As far as how does it look when it's mounted to a rail, there you go. It's got a beautifully slim profile. The overall height is the only one that you can get for this fast mount, and Unity says it's so you can get behind the scope a little bit faster, not have to worry so much about a cheek weld. I understand that, but if you're looking for a lower mount, this is not the one for you. However, just look at that. Nice, thin, sleek. It looks absolutely fantastic on this rail. Before I talk about anything else, one thing I would like to criticize is that these fasteners should be about an extra thread to thread and a half longer. Them not being fully seated all the way through this claw just doesn't sit well with my mind, especially since when you go to loosen the screws to loosen the mount on the rail, the screw's going to more than likely fall out if you don't get it just right. Whereas they could have just extended the screws just a little bit and had them be perfectly flush when it's torqued down. As for the caps, you can see they're held on by 4 fasteners right there, and they are beautiful, inside and out. Nice little radius to the edge over here, so you don't have to worry about that thing digging into your scope. Every corner has been broken. It's beautiful. All we're going to find out right now is to see how well this mount will set. So currently I have the mount torqued to the rail at the specified 35 inch-pounds. I'm now going to torque down the 2 caps. There's 4 screws each. They're rated at 18 inch-pounds. I'm going to torque them down to about 15, so this way I don't overstress anything. And it should give us a good idea of how much everything is going to move. So as you can clearly see, this is live, put my hand in front so this way you can all see, but everything is lined up basically as perfect as it can get. I just want to see if we have any sort of movement with the scope or rotation as we torque it down in a cross pattern. So currently, all the screws are finger tight. I'm going to go back and forth a couple times, torque them down, and we're going to see exactly what happens. So, starting at the front, I'm going to go just more than finger tight. I'm going to go just shy of when the torque wrench is going to click. I'll do the front first. Sorry if I was blocking the view. But I'm trying really hard not to scratch anything because this stuff is all magnificent. So right now, This is all ready to get torqued. Let me take a look at this. So we got a little bit of horizontal shift in the windage, but it seems to be lined up pretty good. Now let's go back and torque this down in the exact same pattern I just did. Now you guys get a better view of this before I do, so don't tell me. I don't like spoilers. That looks like it did not rotate at all. I'm going to adjust the windage to have it line up. And that's pretty damn close, I would say. It might not be perfect, but it's really, really close. I could play around with torquing the rings front and rear and seeing if I can pull them closer to one side and have it rotate. But for right now, I think that's pretty conclusive that this thing is pretty trued up. So now it's going to be a matter of loosening up the mount on the rail and retorquing it. We're going to do that 3 times like I always do. So setting my torque wrench back up to 35 inch-pounds. There are, as you've already seen, 3 screws. Loosen these up first and foremost. There should be a little bit of wiggle there. Now I'm going to retorque it the way I had torqued it originally, which is the center screw first. It looks like we have a very slight shift of about 2 clicks. All right, I'm going to leave it there, and we're going to do it one more time. I'm going to loosen up the middle, the rear, and then the front. Push it forward, torque the middle. That looks like it held pretty good. We might be 1 click off in the other direction. Yep, I'd say we're about 1 click off. One last time for good luck. Middle. All right, that seems to be pretty close. So this doesn't really matter all that much to most people anyway, because this is a permanent mount. However, it means something to me because the more precisely machined and manufactured this mount is, the more capable of resetting to 0 it should be. And this isn't so bad. So there you have it. The fact that the scope didn't really move much when we torqued this down means that this is probably perfectly true, or at least as true as you're going to get. You shouldn't need to lap this. And despite the fact this is not designed to be taken on and off a rail and reset to 0 perfectly every time, it does a very good job of it as well. Weight-wise, like I said, it felt pretty light, and at 7.5 ounces, it's not that bad. Now, I only have one of the mount that's sort of close to that. It's this AAD mount in 35 millimeter. That comes in about 1.8 ounces heavier. But this is in 35 millimeter with some clamps. It's a little bit bigger, but you get the idea. Now, I didn't get the box for this, which is unfortunate. I only got the mount, but despite that, I couldn't find any information on where these are made. I would like to know that they're at least made in the US. That would be nice, especially when you factor in the price, which is the only thing I haven't really touched on right now. This is $358 on their website. I don't know why it's $358. It seems like just a weird number to me. Why not just make it $350 or $360? I don't get it. It's a lot of money, but this is a pretty nice mount. Would I say this is the be-all, end-all of mounts like this? No, you have to make that decision on your own. As for me, if I was going with a permanent setup mount for a little bit extra money, I can go with a spur, which are really nice. They do offer the triangular wedge to help zero your scope. That is one thing I didn't talk about though, was this does have a nice flat wide spine over here, so you can go in there with a vernier, twist it to zero the scope, or at least level the scope to the mount perfectly. So that's also very nice, because I know a couple mounts don't do that. But this is a lot of money, and you have to figure out if it's right for you. There are a lot of different options out there, and this is just one of many. Anyway, Dan, thank you very much for sending this in for review. It's a really nice mount. It's expensive, but at least you went with a higher end mount that seems to be very true as far as torquing down the rings for their scope, for a scope that costs, $2,000. Better than buying something that's $80 and wondering why it's not holding 0. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. See you again next time. And a very huge thank you to all of my Patreon providers. Without you, this wouldn't be possible. If you'd like to help support the channel but don't want to join my Patreon, I completely understand. But you can still help support by using my affiliate links in the description below. Thanks again for watching.